Hey everyone, welcome back to The Minds. My name is Rainy, and today I am going to be fully decorating the Frosted Heights in Disney Dreamlight Valley. If you guys have been in any of my live streams, you probably heard me say once or twice how my valley is a disaster. So I thought it was finally time to take action. So fellow miners, grab a pickaxe and let's get to work. So I started off by cleaning up the biome. I used the ancient vacuum there, which saves a lot of time. And then I just went around and broke all the ice crystals to really clean up the biome so we could just start from a clean slate. And then next up, it was time to place all of the buildings that we were going to use. So I decided to split this up into 3 sections. We have a Mulan section, and then we have a section for Elsa's castle, and then finally a section for Vanellope's house. And I originally tried to get the Frosted Fortress next to Elsa's castle, and then along with the Winter Palace, I just felt like it was way too many buildings that I was trying to use. So we ended up ditching the Frosted Fortress, and I feel a little sad about that. Hopefully we can use it maybe someday on a floating island build, possibly. But for now, we're just gonna have to put that one back in our inventory. I decided to start with the Mulan side because I was honestly most excited about doing this build. I've seen other people put Mulan in the Frosted Heights and I thought it looked so good, so I decided that this is what I wanted to do. I started by placing down this ancient landing path. This is actually the path I used in the Forest of Valor build that we did. And I thought it was going to look really good up here, but it actually turned out not looking as good as I thought. So we actually end up changing this to the natural rock path. Now that we have our pathing placed down, I decided to put these cherry blossom trees in this build. I felt like they would look really nice because I was already planning on using the magnolia trees, which are also pink, so I felt like these would be a really good addition. And then I just started looking for other Mulan themed decor items, and I feel like it was really at this point that I started to realize I didn't like the path. I felt like it just wasn't working with the items, and I was also kind of spiraling as well. Like at one point I thought about putting the casita walls around the build, and I mean I already have Mulan walls, so I don't know what I was thinking. Sometimes with decorating, you really just have to trust the process. So anyway, I finally stumbled across these magnolia walls, and I decided I wanted to completely surround this area with the walls to separate the space and really just fill it out and make it feel very Mulan and really have fun with all of the different items. This was definitely a process in getting the walls all the way around this part of the Frosted Heights. It took a lot of trial and error. We do have some end pieces, so I ended up just having a wall go on one side and then ending it and then starting a wall on the other side with the end pieces, and I feel like it worked out. And then I've just filled up the space with some flowers and foliage to cover it up so you don't even really notice it. So as you can see, we did fill up the whole space with the magnolia wall, and now I'm spiraling yet again. I thought I would like to just completely cover this space in pathing, which I think it would have been fine if we did stick with this route, but we do end up changing this. At first, I had a really hard time trying to figure out where I wanted these cherry blossoms and the Goofy stall to go. We moved them around quite a bit, but I feel like where we got it actually ends up looking really good. And then I'm just trying to place the Mulan house. At first I was thinking maybe at an angle because I thought that looked really good when you were coming up from the Forest of Valor entrance. But it ended up taking up too much space, so I ended up just pushing it back against the wall. And then right here I brought out this bridge piece, which we actually end up using for a really cool idea here in a second. I also added some floating lanterns, and I added this little shadow play theater area. And I really love how this turned out. I think this really kind of sets a mood, and it's a nice little spot for the villagers to hang out at. I believe this was a quest from Mulan or Mushu. I cannot remember which one. And I quickly realized I could not place the magnolia trees on the pathing, so that's when I really started to think that, okay, this pathing idea that I have right now is not going to work because of the trees. So I ended up deleting the pathing. And this is when I decided to finally add the natural rock path. I feel like this path just looks so much better with all of the Mulan items. I just feel like it really works in here. And I decided I wasn't going to fill up the whole area with pathing. I was gonna leave room this time to add magnolia trees because I knew I wanted to have them inside the walls. And now it was time to put back the reflection of China house, and this proved to be a little bit difficult because of how massive that house is. So I had to move the Goofy stall, and I ended up having to delete this little dummy area I had built back there. And then I decided I wanted to do something similar I had done in the Forest of Valor, where I had the path kind of move around the house, so it made it look like the path was rounded. So I decided to do that here with this house. At first I tried to get it to look nice, moving around it, and then I ended up having to go back and do it again because it just wasn't looking right. if you guys are enjoying the video so far, let me know by leaving a like. I would very much appreciate it. And also consider subscribing to the channel to become a miner. You are welcome here, and we would love to have you here. So right here, I'm just doing some final touch-ups with the path. I'm connecting the other entrances with some pathing and really just fine-tuning and making sure that the path flows. It's easy to walk around everywhere. So we're just finishing that up here. And I still tried to experiment a little bit with the diagonal pathing. I'm definitely still figuring that out. I'm not the best at it. It is definitely a learning process. So now that I have the full layout for how I want the Mulan area to look, I just started adding some decor elements. I added this item from Storybook Vale, which I really love. And then I also added some rock clusters to the pathing just to really bring it to life. It was the same kind of thing I did in the Forest of Valor, just adding it around the edges so there's no sharp edges, everything just kind of flows and it feels more alive. So we're just doing that right now. And then I also decided to add some of the pink magnolia flowers because I knew I was gonna have magnolia trees everywhere, so we had to have little petals like some of the leaves were falling on the path. And then I started adding some magnolia trees over here by the shadow play. And it took me a while to land on the right angle for here, but I feel like it ended up looking really nice. And that is basically the Mulan area in a nutshell. All I added was some more decor items, some more magnolia trees, different kinds of foliage just to really liven up the area, and some hidden back ways and things like that just to really fill out the space. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next section of the build. Okay, so next up we are going to start working on our castle area, and I knew I wanted to make this like a regal kind of courtyard area, so I decided I was going to use like these green hedge maze pieces that I had, and I decided to lay all of them out so I knew what I was working with. And then I also decided to use this flower archway as like an entrance to get into the courtyard area. So I decided I was going to use this on both sides. At first, I thought I was going to use this trellis wall to go in front of the hedge maze just to give it like some more character and make it feel like more regal and more fancy. And at first I really liked it, and then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, we can use something else. And so I ended up going with the iron fencing, and I feel like this looks a lot better. And And then I just ended up repeating the same process with the hedge entrance by the other side from the Mulan area leading over here, just so it had an entrance on both sides, and I kind of separated this from all the other areas. And now I'm just putting my castles in place where I want them to go. I also added this icy fountain just to kind of be a centerpiece for the build. And then I started working on my pathing. I didn't really know how I wanted to do the pathing. All I knew is I wanted to connect these two entrances together somehow, and I wanted there to be like a big middle section with the pathing for the centerpiece, and so there was kind of room to like walk around and stuff. I didn't really have a plan for this. I was just kind of trusting the process at this point, and eventually we did come up with something unique here. And you guys will probably notice right here that I was actually struggling with the pathing. I cannot figure out why it was 3 wide on the side closest to Elsa's castle, and I could not get it to match up on that side that I was working on for some reason. It was actually 4 wide that I had it, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was, but later on I do actually figure it out. I just needed to move the flower arch entrance like 1 space over, and then it ended up matching up, so that problem does get addressed later on. So with the pathing finished up, we finally ended up with 2 separate sections over here. And at first I was thinking we were just going to make this a full-on Christmas courtyard on both sides, but then that quickly changed and I decided to do Christmas on one side and then something else on the other. And I think just kind of watching me go through the items, you'll kind of see where I ran across one item and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. So I decided to go with an ice theme on the other side, and I feel like this is really fitting because we do have Elsa's castle over here and she's all about ice. So I decided to have the ice rink and a lot of items from the winter star path, and I feel like it ends up looking really good over here. I also decided to tuck away Kristoff's sled just back there, just kind of lurking back there. I feel like I really need to get Sven now because I can put him over here in the courtyard, and just to see him running around would be so cute. Let me know what your guys' favorite star path has been in Disney Dreamlight Valley so far. I want to know in the comments below, so give me your thoughts and your opinions. I think so far for me, my favorite one has been the Garden of Whimsy Star Path, because that one came with the teapot house and it came with a lot of amazing fairy core items that I used in my Forest of Valor that I really love. And you'll see right here that I ended up walking around my build. This is something that I think is very important whenever you're working on a build, just to make sure that you're able to walk around and access all your mining nodes, all your fishing spots, all the areas that you feel like you need access to. It's really important to take the time to exit out of build mode and just go and take a walk around, and it gives you a really good sense as to how the build is coming together and how I'm feeling about it. So it's definitely very important for me. And I'm not going to show too much of this side of the build because we do actually end up changing this whole side later. So basically this is the concept. I will show you guys some shots of the whole finished project at the end of the video, so do not worry about that. But this is the general layout. We don't change too much about the build, so we're going to go ahead and jump to the next section. And last but not least, we do have Vanellope section. I feel like this was relatively easy. I do have this lovely entrance area, which we got from Eternity Isle. I also added some candy cane trees, some lollipops, and of course this sugarcane pathing, which of course your boy did not have enough of this item. To whose surprise, to be honest. So I had to go and cook me a bunch of candy, and that actually took me a hot minute. I quickly found out that my first challenge was going to be getting these candy cane trees in here, because I found out you cannot place the candy trees on the path, which I think is crazy. These are not like normal trees, you know, these are candy, so they should be able to go on top of candy. That makes sense to me, but I guess not. So we had to work around that. I decided to kind of make the path kind of go around Vanellope's house. It's gonna go up to her house, and then it's gonna kind of curve and go back down around back to the entrance side of things. Nothing too complicated, just kind of leading up to her house and then kind of circling around this pond area. Now with the pathing placed down, I was just trying to find some items that would look good on this candy cane path, and eventually I got the idea to add Bing Bong, which he was in the premium shop, which works perfectly because the next update is going to be Inside Out. So I was like, let's do it. Let's create a little area for Bing Bong. I feel like he really fits in here because he is made literally out of candy and imagination, so he seems like he would be the perfect fit in a Candyland area. So I added him, I added his wagon, which you get from Storybook Vale, and I really love that. I think he fit really well in here. And I also want to point out, I really love the look of the pink right next to the green hedge maze. I mean, Elfie and Glinda said it in Wicked, pink goes good with green, and it really does. I really love just the look of pink and green. It's just, it's so satisfying, and I had so much fun creating this build because I love that color contrast. So next, I decided to dress up this little pond area in front of Vanellope's house, just because this is kind of like our centerpiece for the Candyland area. I feel like it had to have some decor items in here. So I finally stumbled across like these dark green bushes, and I thought that looked really good. I end up changing it to the lighter green bush though, which is like the peaceful meadow, which is this one here. I just felt like the lighter green went better, and it also kind of matches better with the hedge maze kind of green that we had going on. So I felt like that looked good, and then I just added some of the lily pads there. I also decided to add this new rainbow from the Pirate Star Path that we just had with Peter Pan. I felt like it just looks so good next to Vanellope's house. And then I also added these Encanto flower type trees. I felt like, you know, some pinks. They're kind of pinkish purple, but I feel like they fit in really good here. And then I also added some like little cupcakes. I added some of the Easter egg items because I felt like that looked really good in here. And I debated on using like the end of the pot rainbow, but I ended up just sticking with the Neverland rainbow because I thought that one just looked slightly better here. Next up, I was trying to figure out a way to blend the courtyard with the Candyland area, and I stumbled across these wood pieces that you get if you have the Eternity Isle DLC. I feel like this just really worked to blend the two areas together without things just feeling like they just clashed too much. I feel like it was a good like middle piece to separate the two areas, and it ended up looking really good. And then I was just adding some foliage here. I added the Frosted Heights bushes. When you're in doubt on what kind of foliage to use, sometimes it's best to just use the foliage for that biome, and it really worked out here. I really love the pops of green and color that it added to this area. And so I was just kind of taking a walk through around just to make sure I liked how it was feeling. And then I wanted to add a little seating area over here. And I was kind of stumbling around some ideas until I finally decided to use the coffee shop set. If you guys bought the coffee shop that was in the premium shop, it came with a table and some chairs, and they look so good. I love them here. For the rest of Vanellope's build, I just added a little bit more foliage here and there to kind of fill up the space. I added some lights, and then I also added some food on top of the table. I added hot cocoa, and I also added a gingerbread house, and I think they look so cute on top of the tables, and I can't wait to see some of my villagers hanging out there as I'm going around the valley. So now we are on to the final section of our Frosted Heights build, and this is just for the entrance that leads you to the bridge and of course Vanellope's Candyland. So I decided to go with the snowy brick path, and I use the train, the Christmas train, as like a centerpiece over here. And I was just kind of trying to figure out how I was going to connect the pathing. I knew I wanted to do some angles and do some curves and make it look interesting as always. I also added 2 trees right there in the front for texture. And then over here by the wishing well, I really like what I did here. I kind of mixed up the path, and this was kind of like a happy little accident how this happened. But I really love how I decided to kind of mix up the pathing a little bit. I think this little area turned out really nice. And then I added some of these little like white posts over here that you actually get from Storybook Vale. And I think it turned out really nice. I really like that area. And so next I was just trying to dress up the pathing and kind of make it flow around this Christmas train. I really wanted to make sure the path curved nicely around it and it wasn't too close to the train. And then it also had to lead over to the Candyland area. And if you guys need some tips about pathing, I will go ahead and link My Day Old T's channel in the description box below. Definitely go check out her video. She has a whole series about pathing, and it definitely helped me. So I feel like it could definitely help you if you're struggling with pathing like I always am. So right now I'm just trying to see if I can add a fence here that would look nice. I really kind of started spiraling. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with this area yet, but I knew I wanted to kind of separate the train ride and also kind of separate the Candyland area so you don't see it right away. So I did take a much needed break between those two clips. I felt like the creative juices just were not flowing at that particular moment, but then after that break they did come back. So I started adding some of those more Frosted Heights bushes. I added some flowers, which I think looked nice just to fill up the space, give it some more color and contrast. But yeah, you'll see I'm just kind of filling up the space as I go. I think it's really cool that you can actually put items in the middle of the train, so the train is like going around a Christmas tree. I think that is so cool. But yeah, I'm just like filling up the space with some more bushes, flowers, benches, different kind of elements like that. Just filling up any empty space that I see. And that is pretty much it for this area. If you guys have made it this far in the video, I just want to say I appreciate you so much. I know that time is valuable, so the fact that you chose to spend your time with me means the world to me, so thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed my build so far. At this point in the build, I'm just going through each of the different areas and kind of fine-tuning and making some changes. I ended up moving all of the Christmas items that I had by the Regal area. I ended up moving that over here by the Christmas tree and the train, and I just decided this entrance would be a Christmas theme. It just kind of made sense to me, and I feel like it really worked for this area. And then to replace that area by the castles, I decided to add these items from the Frost and Fairies Star Path. This had some really good items in here, and I really wanted to utilize that here. So I ended up going with the lighter wood with the blue eventually, because I feel like that just matched the Winter Palace a lot more, because if you can see, it's got the blue and it's got the light wood on it. So I mean, I feel like it really just kind of fits with that a lot better. So yeah, we're just adding that here. I added some rocks to kind of make the area more interesting. Added some other of the items from that specific star path, and I really like how this area turned out. I think it's perfect because there is literally a portal right behind it, and this is like fairy and magic, so I feel like it kind of fits in a lot better over here than the Christmas items that we used to have. And last but not least, we are just working on the Mulan area. I added some boats to the water, added the sword from the movie, and then I decided to add these turning red paper lanterns by the entrances just to give it a little bit more color. I also decided to dress up this side area by all of the mining nodes. So I added some of the Mulan tents, I added a couple magnolia trees and some flowers, just to really, make this area come to life and feel like it was part of the build, even though it was outside of the wall. And I'm just taking a test walk through the area just to make sure I can still access everything. I switched it over to night mode just to see how everything was looking at nighttime. And then I decided to add some more lights in the water, so I added these orange lily pads, which are a Tiana item. And then I added some of the pink lily pads over on this side just to give it some more color at nighttime and make it look more interesting. Added some reeds to the water. And then I just did some final touches with the lighting. All I did was just add some lights here and there just to really give it that Winter Wonderland magical vibe that we were kind of going for here. We have 3 different areas. We got Vanellope, the castle, and Mulan. So I really wanted it to feel magical even at nighttime. I wanted there to be plenty of lights to guide the way. And that is pretty much it for the video. I'm gonna go ahead and end it with some slow clips of the build just so you can see everything in its final form. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, keep mining for those gems. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.